Good morning, good evening, good afternoon everyone. My name is XEAZUR and here's my list of 5 small things to make your music sound better. This video is meant for beginners that know how to make songs, but just don't know how to make it more interesting. Do keep in mind I'm doing everything in Ableton and things might work differently in your DAW.
You stupid!
Call and response might be the most used out of these, but also one of the most useful. It kind of sounds like two instruments are having a conversation with each other. This is done in any genre and makes your music sound a lot more professional. For example, you can make a melody and do the first part in piano and the second part in guitar, so the guitar sounds like it's responding to the piano. This effect is a little hard to pull off, but when done well, it totally changes the entire song's vibe. In Ableton, you grab the ARPEGGIATOR MIDI effect and change the style to chord trigger. You can choose to keep sync on or off, depending on what style you like. Sync on keeps the chord triggers always on the beat, but it doesn't transition cleanly between the different rates. Sync off allows you to automate the chord trigger's speed to the 100th of a second, allowing for very smooth transitions, but a lot of work to keep on the beat. For your first attempt, I recommend using a soul wave as the instrument and sync on. I will use sync off here, but the process still works the same. Go into automation mode and twist the rate knob. This changes the speed at which the notes are re-triggered. Experiment with the automation and try to find a cool pattern. This technique often gets used by artists like Flume and Subtronics. Here's a good example. Sometimes all a song needs is a little bit of saturation. It might be scary to saturate sounds at first because of clipping and unwanted frequencies. Most of the times a stock saturation plugin will work just fine. But if you want more control over the sound, a good free plugin would be Prisma, which is a 4-band saturation plugin with 16 different types of saturators. On each band you can use 4 different saturators. On every saturation plugin there are going to be a few different types of saturation. I would recommend you to check all of them out to see which one fits your sound the most. The most important part of a saturation plugin is the drive knob. Turn this knob to make a more saturated sound. In different plugins, the other knobs are gonna do different things, but try to mess around with them to see what they do and get a general idea of how your plugin works. Make sure to EQ out any unwanted frequencies using either a stock EQ or a paid EQ like Pro Q3. A good example of saturation being used properly is Omnidirectional by Subtronics. When you're making drums, you can use some basic patterns, but this quickly gets boring. To prevent this, you can make drum rolls. Take a 16th or a 32nd of a note, repeat it a few times, consolidate it and fade it in. I noticed that many new producers have trouble fading elements in. They often just let it come in with no prior build-up or warning. But with the auto filter you can easily fade any sound in and make it sound like you know what you're doing. If you're an Ableton user, you can use the stock plugin auto filter. For this effect we want to low pass the sound. This means the low frequencies can go through and the high frequencies get cut off. For the auto filter users, turn on automation mode and twist the frequency knob.